Welcome back all you kings, queens, and in-betweens to another Should You Watch video here on the channel. Today we're going to be discussing a movie by Academy Award nominee Hiromasa Yonebayashi, a former animator for Studio Ghibli, and that is Mary and the Witch's Flower. This movie is a nice kind of coming-of-age story, I'd say, for Mary, where we get a little bit of development in the Ghibli style, but I don't think it focuses on the development as much as a Ghibli movie focuses on that main character. I feel like that's a big driving force to a lot of Ghibli movies. What do you think about this movie?
So, this was a movie I watched years ago with my mother, who hated it because she hates anime. She's silly. And it was my favorite anime film, and I was like, I gotta watch it with the bear. Now, I don't appreciate it as much as I did that first time because I kind of knew what was happening. And I also forgot that pretty much everyone in this is British. Like, I genuinely started listening and I was like, oh, that's a lot more British than I was anticipating. And I would agree. I was always someone who felt like Ghibli movies are character studies and not films, which is a weird thing to say, but they focus so intently on the main character that you don't really get much else all the time. This one takes aspects of that, but also develops more of a story around that main character, which is something I prefer. I don't like that very deep focus on one little tiny thing. I like that it's fantasy. There's a lot of walking. It's like Lord of the Rings, the anime. Nice floral background.
Lord of the Rings meets Harry Potter, but the only thing it gets from Lord of the Rings is the walking.
Yeah.
So it's Lord of the Rings, just the walking parts. We just find a supercut of that, of just the walking parts of Lord of the Rings. But it has like a magical school, which is kind of the Harry Potter aspect, even though it doesn't really play very much into the story. And it is a fantastical world, and you don't get to see a ton of the fantastical world. It's all kind of condensed into the one little area of the fantastical world. And I think that's something that they could have expanded on, but by expanding on it, I think that would have made the story suffer, because it's a fairly tight, no nonsense kind of story that doesn't really have a lot of fluff to it.
I would agree. I think in the beginning there's a little bit while we're setting the stage and the real world and where Mary comes from, and then it kind of breaks off and it's like, here's some crazy stuff, do with that what you will.
And I don't think it ever gets to the point like a Ghibli movie where it's like, oh, there's so much crazy stuff that you're not even digesting most of the crazy stuff that's happening, like a Spirited Away, where it's just they're just throwing so many weird things at you that it's just like, okay, this might as well happen. Most of the weird stuff that happens in this movie they don't even really comment on, and it doesn't really have very much plot relevance, like the weird automatons and stuff that you see all over the place, and the various things, the various rules to this world and the school and all this stuff. They don't really comment on it because it's not really important. What do we think of Mary as a character?
She's a little bit more insufferable than I recall. She's always complaining about her hair and acting like, a child who gets irritated and makes the irritated child noises.
I mean, she is an irritated child.
And then at the same time, she wants to be helpful, but she's really bad at it because she's kind of like clumsy and still kind of figuring out her body, which is very natural and realistic, but not really likable.
For an adult watching it, I would imagine. But as a coming of age story, if a young child is watching this, or even like a preteen,
I would agree with that. But I like seeing her grow and mature because I think it's easier to watch her as an adult viewer as she starts to progress through the story and become less selfish, complain less, acquire
confidence,
likable personality traits.
Yeah.
Like wanting to help people and go out of her way, even if it meant putting herself in danger.
From an animation standpoint, you can definitely see the Ghibli influence on this. It looks like a Ghibli movie for the most part. Even the character designs are very similar to a Studio Ghibli movie, and less of a Spirited Away and more of like a Howl's Moving Castle or something like that. The character designs are very similar, and you can tell that this person was an animator for Studio Ghibli. But I think that this surpasses being just a Ghibli clone, which a lot of people said when this movie came out that it was just a Ghibli clone. I think that it shows a vision, and obviously if it's going to be kind of a fantasy, half mundane kind of story, it's going to have that kind of vibe that we're used to from those kind of movies, but that doesn't necessarily mean it can't stand on its own, and I think it does stand on its own.
And it's a good film.
Yes, so should you watch this? I think yes.
Yes.
We give this a good recommendation, and we give it a 2 thumbs up from both of us. Should you watch? Yes.
Ooh, well, I never.
It's really rare with you, honestly. So the fact that we both recommend it means you should actually go watch this. Something that you also should watch is the Should You Watch content here on the channel. Leave a like if you like this comment. Comment down below. What's your favorite Studio Ghibli film? It's fairly relevant. Or what is the concept in this movie that sets it apart from your Ghibli films? Let us know if you've seen it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of this content going forward, and ring that bell so you know what's up. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye, guys.